You've been tired lately. Have you felt absolutely exhausted lately? Now, I'm recording this a couple of days after the spring equinox 2026, and that date was March 20th, 2026. And there's been a number of things happening in the world and cosmically. Now, I won't get into the astrology of it because I think that there are other channels that does this well. I prefer using astrological information when working with individuals. And so I love watching the mundane, we call it mundane astrology, when it's looking at the impacts on the world. Okay, I follow those people, and I can definitely give a resource of one who I thoroughly enjoy and like his spin on it. And he's like one of a handful. And I'll link that in the description. By the way, my name is Lisa Freefeather, and I talk to women about how to decenter everything and to center themselves, because when you know yourself well, all of your relationships work. I use tools like astrology, numerology, a number of divination tools, as well as practical steps. So I'm at my 10th week of consistently putting out videos. I have recorded videos in the past on Facebook Live, and when Facebook changed how they manage accounts, and I had the opportunity to download all of my videos. And I was just completely exhausted. I, at the time, lost a family member and made a choice to just let those videos, whatever I didn't pull down, let them go. I know they're not lost in the world of worlds, but I just can't access them. And I remember making decisions like that before, like when one of my parents passed away. I had to renew one of my domain names of a previous business I had. And I just was like, it was a lot of whoa in the moment, like, and I let that go. And so it was these like experiences of these losses. Okay. What I want to get back to is this tired energy, to the point where I almost did not make it to this video. However, I wanted to keep my promise to complete 2 videos each week. And goodness knows, we know that there are times when we don't feel like it. And for sure, doing this video at this time could have been one thing that fell by the wayside. So let's get back into this energy of feeling tired, feeling drained. Here's something for you to consider. It's something that I'm considering personally, is that consider being tired, being worn down, or lacking the capacity to keep doing the things that we were doing the way we were doing them. Maybe the feeling tired is to put an end to the way we were doing things. So going back to this channel. Well, I've been experimenting. That's the truth. Because right now let's just put it like that. So I've been experimenting with a number of different things and logging it and changing, tweaking, etc. And I had this conversation with another woman who's training and developing certain natural skills, intuitive skills. I'll put it like that to make it simple. And I was talking about all of the business coaching, all of the things that I have been taught, learned, did over a decade plus of being a solopreneur. And I'd always imagined the day that I could address things in an intuitive way, in maybe a chaotic way, but that would be in a feminine, kind of way. And a lot of things that I know and I learned is from a masculine perspective. these are the steps to take. This is the formula for writing an email. This is the formula for that. This is how things are done, and this is how marketing looks. And at the same time, I have been talking about systems that are falling apart, and we could say they're patriarchal, capitalistic. Now, this is not overnight, right? But things have been crumbling. The veil has been lowered. We have seen the Wizard of Oz, and it's a man, right? So that's been revealed. That's what I mean. It's like we've seen behind, okay? So I've talked about that. And yet, when it comes to how to take a spiritual based services and run it like a business. Now, if this were not modernity, if this was antiquity, I would be the elder, that wisdom, auntie. You come on by, you come up in my kitchen, or you stop on in while I'm, doing something, feeding the animals, right? Thinking of and imagining what it would have been like for my ancestors. In those environments, one thing I do know, whether it's from research or whether it's from talking to elders in my family or from knowing the truth from my gut, is that modernity in a lot of places and spaces is just not natural. I live in a busy city, and there's so many things about it once I allow myself to stop being plugged in, just does not resonate to the soul. It doesn't resonate with my spirit. It doesn't resonate as authentic to being a person of this earth, of this soil. This is the best way I can explain it. And if it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, then obviously this is not a message for you. And I am figuring it out as I'm speaking. Please comment below if there's anything that's resonating or that you got the same sense of, is that there's something like artificial about the way in which we live culturally, the whole nuclear family. I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in a blended family. And even when I think of the TV shows that I grew up on, they were blended families too, but it was like pushed into, I'm just thinking of the Brady Bunch specifically, but yeah, like a culture of people learning how to assimilate, learning how to be in family and how to move forward through media. Now, if you think that media has only been there to entertain, no, you have part of it correct. It's been there to entertain while also programming, but bringing it back down to feeling tired. It's like I have had to be kind of energetically beaten to submission to no longer have the energy to do my formulaic approach. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a formula, having something that works. That makes sense. If you're baking a cake, you want to keep those measurements in place unless you are an expert baker and you know that you can switch something out. But chances are you're going to use the same ratios. Makes perfect sense. I'm not knocking that at all. What I am talking about is when pursuing spiritual based careers, and we live in a world where we do need capital, we do need resources to exchange, that I have to find a way to monetize it because I do not desire to do anything else. I recognized that the corporate world that I left didn't work for me. I do want to say this. One thing that I recognized, and something that was recent, I saw a report where this woman looked all, in disarray, her clothes torn, and she's sitting in a car and the music in the background, and she says something like she realized that her husband's work wife, um, was fighting harder than me or something like that. And, all these work spouses need to, get a handle on it. So, the whole work wife and the work husband, etc. Now, if we go back to antiquity, where we weren't working jobs like that, you were in communal areas. And the way you operated, whether it's building community, building, just naturally building, you are doing that in your jobs in exchange for money. So you're making someone else wealthy unless you have a B Corp, right? Unless you're in a B Corp where everybody's a stakeholder. Otherwise, there's an exchange. So you can't help but to bring your natural desires of building and making things home like, and having, you're spending so many hours with these people. It's usually your family. And that's how it was in antiquity. So to move out of that environment, to go into a building, to go someplace else, to spend lots and lots of hours, we can't help but to not bring the home life, if you will, there. We laugh at it, but it has a level of reality. And I bring this up because if you're not aware of it, you can really get your feelings hurt. And I think this is what we've seen historically, where certain generations are now working. They'll go into companies and they may work for these companies, but maybe 2 years at a time. Whereas if we go back a number of generations, definitely, the silent generation, they worked all of their lives for the most part for one or two places and got, the quote unquote golden watch at the end. Now you'll see with Gen Z and even millennials, they're not putting in that time because they've seen that, a bitch ain't loyal. I'm not talking about I'm not just talking about the individual, but companies. Yeah, companies are not matching that reciprocity. Now, there are some companies that have become mindful of the culture that they're creating for their employees, and so they can attract talent. Some are being mindful of it, but for the most part, we've gone through that. We've gone through that point of, there's no reciprocity or in the relationship. So yes, so I'm pointing it out because it can be heartbreaking when one is let go, when you've put all your time and energy in this one place. And when you put your time and energy in one or two places in terms of where you work, and they don't feel the same way about you, it could be devastating. The thing to do is create your own. Create your own on the side. Somebody might say, well, running a business is not for everybody. No, it doesn't have to be, but you can certainly dabble on something on the side. And then I can shoot down every argument for something about why not. And it's like, fight for why? Yes. What I decided is I'm going to tool around a bit. The tooling around is other communities. And I'm now just going to create my own. I found a place that supports building your own. And if you are interested, if I've piqued your curiosity, let me know in the comments. I'm also going to have a link. This community is supports underestimated people in developing and having profitable businesses. It's a great community, and my sub part to it is creating a space of accountability. I don't even like that word, but taking actions and also including both the aspects of, if you're in a healing modality, you need to take action and formulas put together. So it's like, how do you have this divine union within yourself and have it reflect in your business? And that's the kind of community and circle that I'm looking to. I'm going to use the word nurture. So it's not just a feeling, but it's also the action. If you've watched this far, go ahead and drop spring equinox. So I know that you've watched this far, go ahead and comment spring equinox in the celebration of renewal of life. And what a perfect time to get into community, to create something that I think that's as part of your soul purpose for being here during this time. We need you. We need every single one of us. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I will see you the next time. Be well. Take care. Bye now.